Hey everybody, welcome to Habitat Now. I'm your host Aaron Shea, and it's an honor for you to join me today. And I have honored guests Jenny Pohlman and Sabrina Knowles joining me from
Okay,
Seattle.
Aaron.
We're going to be visiting them as we come soon later this month to the Seattle Art Fair. We're going to be going over during this presentation. It's an honor to have you, Jenny, and I know Sabrina's going to be here in a second. Knock on wood. At least we'll hear her, depending how it goes with her. So I will take over your screen and go through a little bit of housekeeping. First and foremost, clickety click, we are planning for a talk with John Moran on July 30th. He's on a new season of Blown Away, along with artist Claire Kelly, who's also the Habitat family. So make sure to binge that show that week on Netflix to experience a little bit of their artwork. And it's a little bit of a hokey show, but it's great to see the glass in the eyes of the public. Here's a little sample of their work, John on the right and Claire on the left, both talented, both impressive artists. Our Oliver Lesso show still online on artsy.net. We sold a piece or two from the show, and we're honored to be part of this artist's career, along with Peter Botosh, who has an incredible presentation on Artsy, as well as in your email. And at that link above, just an incredible talent from one of the artists in the Hungarian artists represent. I'm going to keep mentioning this until I forget to mention it. I guess Gas is coming to Detroit next year. We're in the process of supplying ideas. They're due on the 17th. So if you have any ideas for Gas, make sure to get it to them. We look forward to seeing you all in Detroit as we're moving our international to that time as well. We have some other plans in place for our usual international time, but once we hammer that all out, I'll be in touch with the details. This is the last month of our Glass International live on display. So it'll probably be up for a lot of the summer, but in its entirety. We're taking some work down to go to the Seattle Art Fair, of course, but come and see the show. It is breathtaking. And we still get a ton of visitors that come every day. I'm the only one here today because my staff is away, but there's a whole gallery of people that I have my eyes on walking around and checking out the work. It's an amazing exhibition. So this is our sneak preview of the Seattle Art Fair. And Jenny and Sabrina are here. We'll get to their work, but I want to give you a small glimpse of some of the other works we'll be exhibiting in the exhibition. I will be there along with Debbie and Rob for this event. This last time we did this was 2019, before the world fell apart, and we're grateful to get back into our first live exhibition art fair. So it's going to be incredible. Jenny and Sabrina will be there along with our staff, and you are welcome. We have some tickets around here too. If you need one, let me know. So thank you for being here, Jenny and Sabrina. I'll get to you once I get through some of this housekeeping. So we're bringing the Big Old Poodle by Marta Klonowska. This is usually a showstopper. Hopefully we'll find a home for this piece. She does the work based on paintings she finds in reality. This big blue poodle on this side of the screen, and the tiny one down there on the left represents the exact same poodle she created in real life. Vivian Wang, she sent me some raw pictures. I'm hoping to get her final pieces very soon. She just finished two pieces. This piece called Flemish Bunny, which is a large piece, as well as Snub-Nosed Monkey. And this is a new series where she makes a little figure that correlates with the piece, an animal, a pet, per se, of the actual figure. So we're looking forward to getting these live and in person, getting professional shots. Cassandra Blackmore, an amazing talent, making these reverse painted pieces that are hit with a hammer. She sells really quickly, and we're surprised we have two pieces left, but we have blue and red. Take your pick, come and get them. New for our show is Carrie Side. She's a new artist that dabbles in metals and acrylics, and something we're going out to beyond glass a little bit, and we're very impressed with her work because they're kind of glass-like. And we're going to be having a few of these pieces on display in the booth, so expect to see them live and in person. I am looking forward to seeing them there. Deanna Clayton, another longtime member of our Habitat family, a couple of her vessel works, along with these beautiful figurines of these women, very powerful work. I love them. Peter Hora, we have two works by him, blue and purple, as well as some of his smaller pieces. They're just going to be showstoppers to bring people in the booth. It's fantastic. And then our friend Wilfred Gruten's, I think we have two of his works or three of them for the display. We're going to be squeezing a good amount in the booth, but it will look quite impressive. So enough. Let's get to Jenny and Sabrina. Thank you for being here today, guys. I'm looking forward to your presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can have you guys take over the screen so I can see.
Thank you.
There's Sabrina. Glad you can make it. Hallelujah.
Yeah, it's okay. I had my camera blacked out, and I always forget because my little tab that covers up the camera lens is black, so it matches my screen, so I always forget it's there. But anyway, I realized it in the nick of time.
Thank the Lord.
Hi, Sabrina.
Hello.
Well, Erin, thank you so much, Sabrina and I, and thanks everyone who's tuned in right now. It was really good to see you, Steve, right off the bat. We're super excited. We're super excited to be exhibited by Habatat at Seattle Art Fair this year. And we have 3 select pieces that you will probably recognize the forms from our previous work that we're going to talk about in a moment. And then we'll conclude with some images of some newer work that we're exploring that have emphasis on image, steel, as well as glass. So Sabrina is going to share her screen. Also, this is very informal. Many of you are familiar with our work. So if you have any questions, just call them out. You don't have to save anything to the end. We can make this more of a dialogue discussion among us all.
Like that idea. It's great.
Thanks, Erin.
So I'll have you guys take over your screen. Will you go ahead and do that? I think Sabrina's running the show. And like I said, they will be at the fair with us and helping us set up. So make sure to plan your visit if you have a chance to come see us in Seattle. Usually Corey goes on these exhibitions, but I'm stepping up and making sure that I could be there to represent Habitat as best I can. So we'll go ahead and take over the screen, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, do you see that I'm on there?
Nope, not yet. You have to click the share screen button and pick the screen you want to share. Oh, really? You did?
It wasn't.
Okay.
Nothing's working yet, so give it a try again.
Okay, well, let me do it again then.
No problem. It happens super quick before.
Yeah. Just say yes when it's there.
I don't see anything happening yet.
I saw her.
Do you see anything, Steve?
I saw her have the whole screen.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm on somewhere here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just start again.
Let me know if you can see it, Steve. Maybe it's just my computer. Oh, there we go. Now I can
Here
see
we go. Good
maybe
job, Knowles.
Maybe she was just showing it to you, Steve.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
We do have a fancy for you, Steve.
There we go.
Hey, am I on there?
Yep, you're all good.
Okay, here we go.
Cool.
So this is our homage series, which is a part of our signature work. And this particular rendition of the work is where we're using color cups to get our color in there. Usually we work with powders, which gives us a more opaque look to the pieces. And on these, we decided we wanted to go for pure transparency. So in order to do that, we started with the color cups. And this piece will be at SOFA or at the art fair. Jenny,
we introduced the clear polished probably about maybe 2018, 2017. Those of you who know our career, we always focused on a sandblasted finish, very textural, sometimes scavo. So, as artists, we were always growing and thinking. And so it's interesting that later in our career, we found ourselves enamored again with the polish of clear polished glass. I don't know if can anybody see me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see that I'm holding up the color cup?
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know what Sabrina means, we do a traditional overlay and blow a cup. And then we put this cup in a kiln and we gather the clear glass and we actually plunge it into this cup, which allows the color to be on the surface. The bigger challenge is because of the heads are an add-on, we make a cup, we fill it with glass and we pinch off these egg shapes and put those in a garage. And it takes a little bit to heat them up to prepare for the transfer. So it just took a little bit of our time to get the skills back to do this kind of work. And then once we got it, we really enjoyed the outcome. We hire a professional cold worker. We grind the bottoms to our specification, and our professional cold worker comes in and brings them up to a high polish for us.
Wonderful. Love
Okay.
this is like a cinnamon, right?
We call it
Yes.
cinnamon. Yeah.
So here you can see the application of the head. The figure's been carved. It hasn't been pulled yet. And that's where that head's going on. That's all done hot. So I think do you have anything else you want to say about the homage, Jenny?
You know, I do, since we have time. It might be redundant for some of you, but you may not know that the homage is our original collaborative series. Started in 1993 after we had a studio together for 6 months. Sabrina asked if I'd be willing to work with her to create a piece for a local art organization for their auction. I said, sure. And she was working on these sculpted forms. They were much more vague and ethereal than they are now. And I worked with her to establish them in a wooden base for presentation. And the piece gained its value, got its value at the auction. We were super excited and high-fived, and that began the collaborative journey. It took about 2 years before we stepped away from all of our solo work and just combined our efforts. So that's just a little bit of Pohlman and Knowles history trivia.
I love it.
Yes. So very important pieces for us.
Really? Wow.
And another piece that we'll be showing at the art fair is our Mana's Art series. And this is one of our carved heads. We like to refer to them as self-portraits. We started out putting tear marks under the eyes years ago, and then started carving them more. And we both think maybe it has something to do with the aging process. We're not exactly sure, but it very much could.
Well, wait a minute, Sabrina, you skipped the major. We put a couple of tears. I wish we could close up on that, but we can't. But it's all freehand sculpted from outside the bubble. But
I can show a little video. I can show a video here of Jenny doing the mouth. Why don't we do that?
Let me finish what I was going to say, though. I wanted to mention that we did the tears and then we did the crow's feet. So we literally would put 3 lines off to the side of the eyes, which referenced our aging. So this is the first I heard that the carving is an add-on, kind of like a weathered tree stump. It looks better with age.
Look at that fire.
So this is, Jenny is opening up the mouth on this piece.
So until this point, we keep pressure in that bubble, and that's how we keep the tension and the defined form. The last thing we do then is open the mouth, because once we do that, we no longer can control the pressure.
Right, it could collapse.
Right.
Right. So then this is applying the resist to the piece, which will give the pattern once it's sand carved. Anywhere where there's resist, which looks like the white tape on there, that will resist the sand, so that will stay raised up. And whatever isn't covered will be carved away.
And we originated these heads. We did our first exploration during a 3-month Wheaton residency in 1999. I was quite intimidated to begin blowing a bubble, much less sculpting it. So it was a real hands-on experience. The first few were, as you can imagine, extraordinarily garish. We had to dispose of a few of the first, but as we grew our skills, we began embellishing with adornment and realized that they were all becoming women under our tutelage. And so through time, they began to represent the warrior healers and the strength and grace of women, which so much of our work has embraced. So they went through several manifestations. Those of you familiar with our work, we started with the heads and then we added them with necks to pots. and staffs, and ultimately long shamanic type figures. And the final manifestation then is the layer of carving that Sabrina's brought to the piece, the head.
Okay. And then on to the next work is pink, as in revolution. And we'll let you figure that one out.
We like to say the dog whistle for girl power. It's about 8 feet by 8 feet, so there's nothing petite about it. It will not be represented on a pink background at the art fair. We switch a slide there, Bean. And again. It will be shown in clear, and it still will have so much resonance, which you'll see soon. But we started the idea of a pink background. We made our first spear wheel in 2010. It's the Wheel of Liberation series, and it was sandblasted glass. But as we pursued our glass journey, we found ourselves, as we mentioned, enamored with the polish of clear glass. But we toyed in 2017 with the notion of putting it on a pink background. It was a daring thought, and it took us a couple years to actually invest in the completion of the work. We were prompted by an opportunity at the Museum of Glass during their first LGBTQ plus exhibition of glass in 2019. And the show ran through 2020, even despite the COVID shutdown. So will you switch the slide, Beam?
Yeah.
Thanks. So the first thing to do is to get your jiggy on in the hot shop. And we're not trying to make these exactly the same, but we want them to feel very relatable. And I do love this long shot of going into the shop over the course of several days and creating the tops of the spears. The first spears we made started in 1997 and had much more detail. Through time, we minimized the detail and we added the curves. So despite the notion of a spear being a masculine object, we feel our spears are very yin-yang, male-female. And this blade, the top blade, is definitely feminine to us.
And they definitely stand for self-empowerment in our minds. They're not about aggression. They're about standing up for yourself.
Right. Next.
These are the spear shafts.
And interestingly, the spear shafts are forged out of 1-inch steel. This is a small scrap on my metal table. We have a blacksmith friend who does an excellent job on these. Sabrina and I did our first study back in 1997. We went to a local arts organization and rented their power hammer and struggled and sweated for about 2 hours and powered out about 5 inches of this steel pipe. And exhaustedly, we contacted our blacksmith friend. And fortunately, he took over that task for us. But here are all the shafts laid out. This is before they're all cemented.
We bring them home and drill them out and do the copper wraps on them.
Right. We sandblast and then
patina,
sand them and then polish them and wrap the copper.
Right. And here you can see they're laid out on the studio floor on the template.
One of the biggest challenges is to space these. And I'm sure math heads and engineers would probably tell us that there's a tool that you can use that divides a circle by 13. So you would know the distance. But being Luddites, we do it the old fashioned way. So we start with the big taped up piece of paper template and lay them down and climb a ladder and look down and adjust them slowly, draw around them. And then next, put that template up on the wall, and then we can see it from a new perspective and we make any little adjustments. And the biggest challenge really is positioning the hardware, because what we're trying to do is align the spear tips to that center hole. We do not have an image of this piece on a white or black wall, so you'll just have to trust us that it's going to have a major impact when you see it at the art fair.
Yeah, you'll have to come out just for that.
You have to come out.
No photos will be taken there either. You have to see it in person.
That's right. Then you can take your own photo.
Right.
That's right.
Okay.
So nobody's asked us any questions. Those are the three major pieces in the exhibition. So does anybody have any questions about that work before we tell you a little bit about some new work we're exploring? No. Okay.
Hear about the
well, back in 2020, you know, we weren't working in the hot shop. The hot shop that we work at, it's a public access studio. Our work is so much about composition and assemblage. The glass is only an element. It's generally the driving element of all of our designs. But that said, we do not run a hot shop in our studios. We have a complete metal shop, a printmaking studio. We have sandblasting equipment, a cold shop, and kilns for enamel firing. So during the COVID, we weren't doing any glass blowing. All the public studios were shut down. And so we really kind of went inward and began looking at elements that pre-existed in our studio. Some of you may recall a 2021 Zoom we did where we showed a bunch of lenses with imagery that had frames built around them. The whole concept of the metal and the frames originated with our Himba portrait series, meeting the women in northern Namibia in 2008 and having some photographs displayed in our studio prompted Sabrina to want to immortalize their energy in imagery in blown glass. And so we set on a course from 2013 to 2016 when we had our first exhibition. Next.
It was basically about transferring the image to a blown piece without too much distortion to control it as much as possible at the beginning.
So Sabrina and I worked on our own for a couple years in a scale that we could manage. And we have been invited to do a residency at the Museum of Glass. And with that team, we were able to push the scale. So once we achieved that goal and we had the portraiture images in these beautiful lenses, we hung them in our studio and we felt like they needed to be embellished because Sabrina and I never do anything simply, and we like layers of adornment and assemblage. So we began working in the metal shop, and you can see small pieces of metal. We were exploring how to put things together. And on the left, you can actually see in an elongated an eye form peeking out. Next. And through the course of evolving the metal for the Himba, different forms came to mind for future. We just would take a photograph and file it away. Next. And so the first eye appeared, almost literally appeared on the metal table, pushing pieces of metal around to gain table access. I began to see an eye. Next. And that's when we realized that we could have a beautiful blown pupil. In that pupil, you may or may not be able to see in this image, there are two birds flying at the lower part.
So, yeah.
That's okay. So that was just an abstract rogue study for future. We introduced our first set of eyes in 2017. Next. And there you can see the birds ethereally embedded in the pupil. So the eyes, as artists, oftentimes we're creating and we can't tell you the story right away. And so we allow, on these particular pieces, we allow the viewer to bring their story in. Sabrina and I both have different interpretations of what the eyes represent, but they've become a part of our vocabulary. We've always worked with visual symbols. And so for us, these eyes now are a part of our vocabulary.
And these two this double image, it's actually the same bird and printed twice with enamels, but that's a Cape gannet, and that was taken off the coast of Namibia. Also, birds symbolically in different traditions have been known as the seers. So for us, like as Jenny said, the eyes mean different things to us and to different people, to the viewer. But it can be interpreted as seeing, the seers going out and being able to see what anybody else can't see, bird's eye perspective, so to speak. So it just brings into mind different perspectives and really looking at something, seeing something.
It makes me think of the three-eyed raven from the Game of Thrones series.
Oh, see, I don't know Game of Thrones, but very popular and cultural and yeah, in our culture these days, I guess.
And those of you familiar with our work will know that we've had birds, glass birds in our vocabulary since the mid-90s. Just to give you an idea what it takes to make all those metal scraps you saw on the table, this is a piece of 24-inch pipe. And I refashioned our Ellis bandsaw to accommodate the scale of this pipe. It's three 1/8-inch thick walled. And that's me cutting what I call a rib. So first I load the pipe onto the saw. And those of you who know what it's like to cut round, it's all about clamping, because if you fail to clamp and that piece of pipe slips, you just lost a $70 saw blade. And I'm not going to confess how many times that happened at the beginning of the journey, but we're pretty good at it now. Next. And there's another view of cutting a side piece out. You can see the scale of that. Once we cut the side piece out, next, we can cut these other ribs. And then once we cut those ribs, we cut the smaller pieces. So that's how we begin to formulate the metal for this work. After we had introduced the eye, we advanced it with these frames. So we have a whole series of work that hasn't had an audience because of COVID that are framed. We have lenses with imagery and they are framed. So the frame, then we transferred to the eye series. This was a Pilchuck offer, the Pilchuck donation last year, and it was very successful.
Hi, this is
someone who's not muted.
Hello.
Let's do it real quick, guys.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Go ahead and unmute yourself again, Jenny and Sabrina, just to come back to the planet here, obviously.
So this Pilchuck piece was wildly successful and doubled its value at the auction last year. Artists work from their heart, but it's also good to get an applause now and then. So it gave us a purpose to pursue. Having been amateur photographers even before we met each other, and then going through getting photography in blown glass, photography has been part of our toolkit for a long time. And so now we've really gotten bold, and these are original images that are framed, and we have the eye protruding from the framed image.
So the image is printed out on archival paper and then set into the frame and covered by an acrylic sheet.
And I'm drilling into the acrylic to get the post to plant the eye.
How big is that, would you say, guys?
Can you pull a tape up there, Sabrina? I'm guessing it's, well, the print is 23 by 14. So the finished piece is probably 15 by 25.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Next.
Next. Oops. Huh. Okay.
Next.
I'm working on it here.
Maybe that was.
Something happened when I did that mute thing. Here we go.
So we're toying with the idea of calling this the Witness series. We've done a lot of travel around the West Coast, particularly. I had to do a trip down to Florida in 2020, road trip quickly to assist my parents. And so we've seen a lot of country. you can go to some states and you would never know that there was a problem with climate change. And you can go to other states and you can see it firsthand that there is definitely an impact of the warming, whether it's because pine beetles are rampant now, or, you know, water, drought and such. So we just feel it's really important to appreciate all of these days and all of the beauty that we are privy to having. And so this is kind of our way of acknowledging and witnessing. You can see from this angle view that you can see the depth of the box frame and the way the eye protrudes from the piece.
And these are all one piece, right? There's no assembly, just...
There is some assemblage. The face plate comes off of the frame and it reinstalls very, very simply. If it didn't, it'd be almost impossible to fit the image and the plexiglass behind it. And then the eye is on one post, and we've not decided whether we would ship the eye already on the post. It's a very simple set screw, and we include the tool you need. It's just one torque of an Allen wrench to tighten that eye on the post.
So as you know, it's very important to be able to get a piece from point A to point B. So that's why we have a bit of assemblage, so nothing gets broken in that transferring.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's it.
That's what we look like when we've had enough sleep. You're seeing us now. We're running on.
And we just didn't get out of the shower, and we just got back from Hawaii. So we have lovely tans.
That's great, guys. I'll have you stop sharing your screen, Sabrina.
Okay.
And I will take over and show. Let me just do it for you. There we go. I'm going to make my view gallery so I can see everybody. I'm going to share my screen again to show everybody. So for the Seattle Art Fair, they make you create an artsy page for the Seattle show. And we put up all the work that is basically available by the artists that we have. We're going to be adding more to the artsy presentation we have up online on artsy.net. It's just a fun way of getting the artwork out there digitally for those of you who can't make it to the show. So that will be what's going on there for the exhibition in its entirety, besides physically being there. Jenny and Sabrina, it's an honor to have you today. Join us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. It was a wonderful invitation.
It's a lot of fun to see you both.
I love the new work with the eyes and the photos. It's really fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you, Steve.
I've loved your old work in the past, but you know, the new stuff is really, for me, it's a change from what I've seen in the past, and it's really a great step forward.
Thank you. Well, you know, it's very challenging because we're mixing, you know, photography, sculpture, glass blowing. So the challenge is to not create chaos, but to create calm. So I feel like
a lot of stuff.
I feel like our whole career has led us to this place because slowly we integrated more and more elements in the work. So coming from you, Steve, that's a hell of a compliment. Thank you very much.
And we miss seeing you at the different shows throughout the year.
He invited us to France to drink good red wine.
Right on. We're there.
We're ready.
So Jenny and Sabrina,
I live in a truly beautiful place. So
Jenny and Sabrina have the photos being done of the new works too. We'll be adding those to Artsy as soon as we have them. And I'm hoping to experience them live and in person in Seattle. But thank you all for joining us today. I hope you have a great weekend. And if you have interest in any of the work, feel free to contact me. You know where I'm at. Thank you again, Jenny and Sabrina, and everybody for joining us today.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Happy day.
See you all soon.
See you soon.